Good morning, one and all. It's beautiful Thursday morning out here in Central Valley of California. I'm sitting in my truck, warming it up, and figure I'd come to you. I haven't come to you in a while, so figure I'd come to you and talk for a few minutes and have a truck talk. And so here we are. I don't even know what day it is. I know it's Thursday. It's the 10th of October, 2019. And, there's a lot going on. There's the Trump impeachment inquiry that's going on. That's real interesting. We have our own issues out here in California. With the recall of Gavin Newsom going on, and PG&E and SoCal Edison shutting electrical off all over the place, and because of high wind issues. And of course, we have the $4 or $5 a gallon gas, depending on what market you're in, and the economic impact that that's having. So here we are, October 2019, and it's hard to figure out where we're going to start. So we'll start at the beginning. That's always a good place to start. It's always start at the beginning. With Gavin Newsom, there were a lot of people who said that if Gavin Newsom got elected, that it would be a lot worse than what we ever saw with Jerry Brown. And that is exactly what we've witnessed. I have noticed that even his diehard supporters are signing the recall, because he's totally gone off the rails. I mean, speaking of rails, we got the high-speed rail project, and we just had that gas tax that was approved last year, and he's diverting a lot of those funds over to high-speed rail, and to fight climate change and all this other stuff. And of course, all of us in the rural areas of California are getting the shaft on that, because, well, let's face it, out here in the back part of California, Sacramento does not care about us. They simply don't. We are the deplorables of the state of California. We are the trash of California. You have the glimmering coastline, which is not so glimmering anymore, considering that you got people literally shitting in the streets in San Francisco, and you got 10 to 12,000 people a month being added to Skid Row down in Los Angeles. But for all intents and purposes of argument, you got the gyms along the coast, and then you have the rest of the state, which is considered to be outdated trash, whether it be human trash, organized trash, whatever. We are the unwantables, the people that Sacramento just doesn't care about, whether it be in the Central Valley, the desert, or up north in what's called the Jefferson Territory. So there's that. And the good news is that at least where I'm at, we don't have people taking a dump in the streets and pissing in the streets. We have some semblance of law and order still. But there's also the fact that where Highway 41 and 46 combine at the Shalom Y, as in the letter Y, where 41 and 46 meet, that project has been dissolved along with a lot of the projects out here in the valley because of Gavin Newsom signing Executive Order in 19-19. If you want to know how bad the Shalom Y is and the area that it covers, it's not only called Blood Alley, but it's also where the actor James Dean, God rest his soul, was killed. So there's that. So there's recall going on for Gavin Newsom. If you haven't signed the recall notice, find the nearest location, go sign. If you do it online, it does not count. It has to be in person. That's the one that's been approved by the Secretary of State. So there's that. And then there's the power issue with PG&E and SoCal Ed. And there again, this one is one that's making of the government and making of the populace as well. You know, there's the fires of 2017 and 2018. Some of them who may have been sparked by PG&E, but PG&E got assigned 100% liability. And of course, you know, deep pockets draw out a lot of lawyers and a lot of people looking for a quick buck, and drove PG&E into bankruptcy. So PG&E now has this whole thing where they shut off power to prevent forest fires. Okay. But of course, people are complaining now that their power is being cut. Well, I hate to break it to you, but if it's a difference between taking on liability of forest fires and you having electricity, guess what? The liability is going to win out all the time. And you cannot, I cannot stress this enough, you cannot drive a company into bankruptcy and then insist that they continue to do what they were doing before so that the same thing can happen again, so you can drive them into it again. Elections have consequences. Actions have consequences. I know. That's a foreign concept in the state of California these days. But I don't blame PG&E for what they're doing. I don't blame SoCal Ed for doing what they're doing. For those who are affected by the power outages, the big thing is that, you know, it's all about safety. It's all about safety, it's all about security, it's all about liability. And my suggestion is go get some supplies to keep things going for a while. And then with that, I'd also like to remind people that electricity is a relatively new invention. It's only been around for about 150, 200 years. So in the whole lifespan of history span of humanity, it's extremely relatively recent technology. So without you being with you being without it for a few days, you should be okay. Especially if you have stockpile of food, water, stuff to protect yourself, all that other stuff. With that being said, turning on and off electricity when you're getting up into the 250, 500 kVA range, kilovolt range, you know, it's not just like flipping on and off a light switch. You have to go out, you have to check the lines, you have to check the equipment, you have to check the breakers, you have to check the reclosers, and then you have to energize from the line side down until you get down to the neighborhood, you know, where you go from a 12 or 10 kVA line down to your 220 single phase, which, you know, services most people's homes. So it's not just like flipping on and off light switch. And if you want to see what it's like, kind of, sort of, there's videos on YouTube of power plants, substations, stuff like that being isolated. Very interesting. Jurassic Park, believe it or not, does a really good job. Not so much with the whole priming the system type thing, but, you know, the whole having to go through methodically from line to load, line to load, line to load, line to load, in a sequential order in order to make sure everything works properly. Otherwise, you get surges and feedback loops and all sorts of crazy stuff that's no good for anybody. So there's that. And then we got our high gas prices. And all I gotta say to that is Prop 6, people. Prop 6. You voted for it. You wanted to keep the gas tax. You wanted to keep the prices high. This is what happens. But this is also what happens when you use very unique blends. And not only do you use unique blends of gasoline to supposedly clear out the air, but also the fact that those blends are only made in your state. You got all these pipelines, you know, crisscrossing the United States all over the place, and then you come to California, and California is like the magical state where everything just stops at the border. And unfortunately, because if there's any disruption in the supply line in California, prices go up. And then, of course, you know, once things come back online, it slowly comes back down because, you know, all those retailers who are only making 1 or 2 cents a gallon would like to make 5 or 6 cents a gallon while they can. So there's that. And frankly, if you voted to keep Prop 6, and excuse me, breakfast. If you voted to keep Prop 6 and you voted to keep the gas tax, then you should not be complaining about the high gas prices right now. Because nearly a dollar of that price you're paying at the pump is going to the state of California. And then, of course, there's another 30 some odd cents that goes to the federal government. And then, of course, there's the sales tax that's added on top of all that. So there's that. And then, of course, you know, another 35 to 45 cents of that price is also based on the fact that it's a California blend, which is different from the 49 other states that are in this country. So there's all that. And whether you like it or not, that's the way it is. If you don't like it, then we need to go back to using the blend that everybody else uses in the country so that we can buy from out of state and use out of state refineries. And we need to repeal the gas tax, which, I mean, you know, Newsom is using executive orders to divert to other projects anyway. So, I mean, you know, but it is what it is. So, if you're not happy about the high gas prices, the power shutoff, and all the other stuff that's going on in the state of California right now, go sign the petition to remove Gavin Newsom. I almost called him Gray Davis. Does anybody remember Gray Davis? Do you remember Gray Davis? Remember what happened with Gray Davis? Brownouts, blackouts, high gas prices. Car registrations going through the roof. Sound familiar? You know, we removed Gray Davis. Then we got the Governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Governor. He was a good guy. He was good. He was a good governor for the state of California. Then we got Jerry Brown for a second time around, and now we got Gavin Newsom. Elections have consequences. Always remember that. Well, with that being said, my truck is now up to heat, which means that it's at its ideal temperature for driving around for a complete combustion of its fuel. So I can go out and do my job and keep my carbon footprint to a minimum. Not because I'm some eco freak, but because I like my planet and I like my environment, and like a lot of people that live out in the country and live in the rural communities, we appreciate the natural beauty that is here, and we like to keep it that way. Not because some 16-year-old girl is telling us how dare you from the UN. Not because some politician in Sacramento says that you're a sinful asshole if you're driving a gas combustion vehicle, but because there are some of us that actually appreciate the environment, that love the natural beauty that has been given to us by whatever creator you wish to pray to, if you pray to one at all, or the universe, or however this was created. And, you know, right now with the smoke and the dust in the air and everything, I cannot see my Sierras. I'm actually facing east right now. I should be able to look over there and see the Sierra Nevada mountain range. But I cannot. All I see is gray stuff in the air. It's really sad. I mean, nothing is more beautiful than a day right after it rains and you can see Mount Whitney and the Sierra Nevadas, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. You stop and you look at those huge mountain ranges, and you think, wow, all that natural beauty. Gotta love it. Anyway, y'all have a great day. I gotta get to work because millions on welfare depend on me, and I have to pay my taxes. That way other people can sit on their butts and not do anything. For those of you who are actually disabled or actually need a hand up, I'm rooting for you. Go out there, get them. For those of you who are sitting on your butt because, well, frankly, you just like living off the system, well, you know what? KMA. Because we know who you are. We see you. We know who you are. And, you know, eventually the pendulum will swing the other way, and those programs will be shut down, or they'll be severely curtailed, and you'll have to actually go out and, I don't know, do something called work for a living. So, with that being said, y'all have a wonderful day.